What's up, space pirates? This is your captain, the Dread Pirate Dr. Disaster, and, as predicted, the activists who pretend to be journalists in the gaming industry got real mad about Stellar Blade, and they got it at least a little bit censored. The embargo on reviewers for Stellar Blade has been lifted. The reviews are out, and it looks like one user saw this pop up on his screen, and he got totally offended.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
What's the problem?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with this screenshot at all myself, but the eternally offended are claiming that it is a reference to a slur. Personally, if anything, I think this would be a sexualized reference, forming the word harder, but activists complained to Sony, who got them to take it down and replace it with this instead. Wow, what an improvement. These whiny, woke a-holes are just joyless scolds who don't want anyone to have fun.
Fuck these yuppies, and fuck everybody now that I think of it.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, and also, don't forget to follow me over on Twitter, where I am keeping a list of woke/DEI infested games pinned to my account at all times. You won't find Stellar Blade on there, but you will find a bunch of other stuff. In any event, my handle on Twitter is Dr. Disaster 1. But with the review embargo lifted, these so-called journalists are free to shout from the rooftops what their opinions on Stellar Blade are. The takes from these cockroaches have been particularly insane. We're going to take a look at some of them in response to this news of Stellar Blade being forcibly censored. This bedwetter wrote, "Not only does Stellar Blade appeal to creeps, it also appeals to racists too." Nice. This guy can get back to me with his appeals to decency and his dislike of sexualized content once I hear him complain about the activist journalists drooling over this image from Hades 2 depicting Aphrodite. The only difference between the sexy in Stellar Blade and in Hades 2 is that Stellar Blade isn't playing ball and kowtowing to the woke narrative. Therefore, the journalists don't like Stellar Blade, and they do like Hades 2. And as for his claims that the Stellar Blade title appeals to racists, the only people who are offended by this image are the people who are looking for anything to be offended about. They are the professionally offended, and like the boy who cried wolf, their claims of being offended have diminishing returns. By now, most of us don't believe a damn word they say any longer because we aren't overly sensitive pansies. But speaking of sensitivity, check out this moron's take on Twitter. This user wrote, "If only there was some kind of group you could contact to give media a, I don't know, sensitivity read, and avoid creating work like this for yourself in the future."
You were literally too stupid to insult.
Well, allow me to retort, my dude, by flipping your smart-ass words around on you. If only there was some kind of action you could take to, I don't know, move on with your life and avoid getting bothered about absolutely nothing so that you don't look like an overly sensitive jackass in the future. But let's look at some of the reviews from the game journalists whose keyboards were probably covered in tears as they were forced to type their words about Stellar Blade, because the game has opened up to positive reviews pretty much across the board. Imagine how good the game must be for these activists to even give it a lukewarm rating, let alone a good one. Over on OpenCritic, it has a mighty rating, with an 84 top critic average and a 91% overall score.
I like it.
The outlet Destructoid gave it 8 out of 10 and wrote, "Overall, Stellar Blade is a journey worth experiencing. I feel like with some improvements in certain areas, Stellar Blade could be a legendary landmark experience like those it clearly draws inspiration from. But even in its current form, Stellar Blade offers a fast-paced action combat system in a unique world with a rewarding narrative." But the Sixth Axis gave it a 7 out of 10 and said, "Stellar Blade is a pretty enjoyable game to swing your hairband sword at, so long as you don't mind the obvious sexualization."
Okay.
Aw, poor guys over at Sixth Axis, we better do a wellness check to make sure they're still okay after being exposed to so much TNA. And then the outlet God is a Geek gave it 9 out of 10 and wrote, "There's a hell of a lot going on in Stellar Blade, but it remains a surprisingly elegant and exciting adventure throughout." The Video Gamer gave it only a 6 of 10 and said this, "If you take just the combat and the music from Stellar Blade, you've got a fantastic game. Sadly, this is not the whole package." Gaming Trend gave it 90 out of 100 and said, "Despite not vibing too well with the demo, we were utterly in love with Stellar Blade by the time the credits rolled. Shift Up has done a tremendous job with their first AAA project and sets a high bar for modern action role-playing games." Push Square gave it 8 of 10 and said, "Stellar Blade is a slick console debut from a developer clearly on the rise, with an ever-evolving counterattacking combat system, some superb art direction, and a sensational soundtrack. This is the kind of back-to-basics PS5 outing that fans have been pleading for." You get the picture. Pretty high scores across the board, despite the fact that many of these journalists desperately did not want to give Stellar Blade the win. I will be putting a link to the OpenCritic page for Stellar Blade in the description if you want to read these reviews for yourself. It's sad that despite the fact that gamers are clamoring for this title and that even the media itself seems to enjoy the game, we have so much enthusiasm for trying to censor Stellar Blade. I mean, just yesterday it was announced that there would be no censorship of Stellar Blade in any region, which is quite the accomplishment in this day and age, though of course that has now been ruined. There is at least a little bit of censorship now, and as you can see from the title of this article from thegamer.com, that was always their plan. The idea of no censorship caused a lot of consternation among the professional bitchers and complainers. The headline says, "Stellar Blade's uncensored release shouldn't be a cause for celebration."
Are you kidding me?
Imagine unironically wishing there was more censorship in the world. When I was a kid, the powers that be used to complain about violence in video games. They used to think that playing Mortal Kombat would turn me into some sort of hyper-violent monster. But now we're getting overzealous puritanism from a completely different direction, and it is just as ludicrous as it was in the 90s, and it must be pushed back against. We cannot allow these whiny, whinging babies to censor us into oblivion. But I'm going to leave it there. What are your thoughts on this censorship of Stellar Blade? Does it affect your desire to play the game? Does it piss you off as much as it does me? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we will talk about it there.
Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booze.